Raleigh and is transmitted from an antenna located on the UNC Tower near Chapel Hill. The station serves the northeast Piedmont of North Carolina. Here is for the following counties.
So sometimes I bitch, sometimes it's legit. What's happening there is because I'm overrunning. It's take too long.
And European leaders via video link. The Chinese president called the agreement balanced and high standard, expecting it to provide greater market access.
Correctly, both channels should be
Chinese capital. On today's program, China and the European Union have completed negotiations on a bilateral investment agreement.
双方都拿出了高水平的互利互惠的市场准入承诺。Both sides have come up with high-level and mutually beneficial business commitments. And all of the rules contained in the agreement are two-way applicable to both sides.
Sinopharm's applied for approval for its COVID vaccine in China. More than 20 have been killed in an attack at an airport in southern Yemen. In business, several Chinese internet giants have been punished for irregular pricing. In sports, the latest results in news from European football. In culture and entertainment, martial arts degrees offered by a university in China.
Now, when they say punished, you kind of think probably a
stories. China and the European Union have announced the completion of their negotiations over a bilateral investment agreement.
You can't charge the white people one thing, the black people
President Xi Jinping and European leaders via video link. The Chinese president called the agreement balanced and high standard, expecting it to provide greater market access, higher level business environment, and stronger institutional guarantees for mutual investment. He says the trade deal greatly boosts the global recovery in the post-pandemic era and enhance the confidence in economic globalization and free trade. The European leaders called the completion of the negotiations a milestone in the development of EU-China relations, calling for closer cooperation between the two sides on issues such as sustainable development and WTO reform. Chinese officials say China and the EU will strive to facilitate the early signing of the investment agreement. Li Yongjie is with the Chinese Ministry of Commerce.
双方都拿出了高水平的互利互惠的市场准入承诺。Both sides have come up with high-level and mutually beneficial market access commitments, and all of the rules contained in the agreement are two-way applicable to both sides. Second, both China and the EU have retained the necessary regulatory powers while making commitments to opening up. Third, both sides agreed to promote bilateral investment and also emphasize that investment should be conducive to sustainable development.
The agreement will take effect after both sides complete their respective internal approval procedures. In the next step, the two sides will carry out text review, translation, and other technical work. China is now the EU's biggest trading partner, while the EU is China's second largest trading partner. Negotiations on the deal began back in 2013 with 35 rounds of talks since then.
Who's China's biggest trading partner?
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi will pay official visits to Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Tanzania, Botswana, and Seychelles early next month. The planned trip is in line with China's 30-year tradition of choosing Africa as the destination of all Chinese foreign ministers' first overseas visits each year. The Foreign Ministry says the upcoming visit is expected to facilitate economic recovery in African countries while fighting the coronavirus. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has signed the post-Brexit trade deal with the European Union.
Good. Thank you very much, everybody. I want everybody to understand that the treaty that I've just signed is not the end. It is a new beginning.
No, it's not. You just rejoined the EU with less privileges. You're a retard.
And
white people are good at
the trade deal announced a week ago sets up the terms of Britain's new relationship with the EU following their divorce earlier this year. It'll come into effect tomorrow, replacing a transitional arrangement during which EU rules continue to apply in Britain. As the new year is around the corner, people across the globe are saying they hope things will start to get better from now on. First, let's hear from Jenny Blakeney, a volunteer worker in Australia. She says she hopes to see fewer food banks in the new year as people in the post-pandemic era hopefully don't need them anymore.
It's actually been a
temporary
very
measure
difficult year. I volunteer at a food
1988 or
bank.
some shit.
People attending the food bank has increased doubly.
My grandmother had the VCR where they take those
Brisbane to work
six
have
head.
lost their jobs. The charity
They'll make those
is luck. The numbers
past the
will
90s, so
reduce
that's 1990.
because
There
that
was no
means
six
they
heads.
can
There was four
provide
and
for
two.
themselves. It would be nice to see more
I think we had a
businesses
video.
opening up and employing more people. It would be nice to see the young people being able to get a job.
Meu nome é Roberta Guedes, moro no Rio de Janeiro, Brasil.
My name's Roberta Guedes and I live in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I'm a movie and TV producer. And 2020 was a very difficult year in my area of work. Everything was put on hold.
Banks were
We
temporary
couldn't film
measures
anything.
started
We
by
couldn't
the
even
unions,
continue with
not
our
Schwab.
projects. So I hope that
Just after
2020 will be a much
a
better
year or two
year,
after
that the vaccine arrives, and that we can finally be
Hamilton
close
Steel
to the
Town
people we love.
shut down
And that
everything. Why? Because they're trying to compete with Russia and China.
My
Producing
name
steel.
is Trippz, also known as Trippz. I'm an artist originally from New Jersey in the United States. I've been living in Bangkok for the last 10 years. Over 2020, I experienced a lot of cancellations of work, just like a lot of other people during this global crisis. For 2021, I think what I need to do personally is diversify the type of work that I do and be aware of more opportunities.
My name is Wade.
Pull it over your head.
I'm living in Zimbabwe. I'm starting working in car from 2002 up to now.
No, it's too
Now
tight for you to
I want to
undo.
change.
There's something wrong with that
The
stereo.
new year, 2021, I want to start into selling the car. Maybe the business gonna change my life.
Viewers from the Beijing Hour coming up. Sinopharm applies for approval of its COVID vaccine in China.
History is made up of stories. Put down that lengthy book spanning thousands of years and instead follow the Makers and Shakers of Chinese History podcast, which presents the biographies of 20 historic figures who shaped the course of ancient China. Meet the most renowned ancient Chinese rulers, ministers, thinkers, scientists, poets, and rebels, and find out how they continue to influence the Chinese to this day. Subscribe to Makers and Shakers of Chinese History for free on your favorite podcast app.
7 minutes past the hour. Phase 3 trial results of the COVID-19 vaccine developed by China's Sinopharm show an efficacy rate of over 79%. The results meet the vaccine standards set by both the World Health Organization and Chinese regulators. Sinopharm's applied for approval of the vaccine in China. The Chinese government has already granted its approval for emergency use for select groups. The Sinopharm vaccine has already received authorization in the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. Professor Hu Naijun from the University of the Chinese Academy of Sciences earlier spoke about the advantages of Chinese vaccines.
In China, we, especially facing the developing countries, we give them fair and open access. That is from the political point of view. On the other hand, I think from the cost and the price point of view, as we have known that President Xi Jinping has made it very clear that the vaccines produced in China is international public goods, which means the price and the cost will be not that high. So it is also affordable to the developing countries. The transportation, the storage for China's vaccine, in my opinion, is not that difficult comparing with other vaccines. And I think the most important thing is that our vaccine is the inactivated vaccine, which is much safer than other vaccines. As we all know, in US, in European, in some countries, they are using the activated vaccines, which is very dangerous in my opinion, because the activated vaccines was used only to people who have cancers or extreme diseases. So I think this is the first time that the activated vaccines was put into people's body. But in our vaccine program, we have inactivated vaccines. So I think if together with the convenience of storage and transportation, our vaccines will be used more widely and much safer.
That was Professor Hu Naijun from the University of the Chinese Academy of Sciences on the advantages of Chinese vaccines. Authorities in Beijing say the latest COVID-19 infections in Shuni district originated from an imported asymptomatic case from Indonesia. Peng Xinghua is Deputy Director of Beijing Center for Disease Control and Prevention. She says none of the COVID-19 cases have been linked to the new variants reported in the UK and South Africa earlier this month.
The virus belongs to the L genotype of the European family branch 2.3, and all the reported cases are on the same transmission chain. The virus may be imported as it has certain strains found in Southeast Asia in November. It has no genetic association with the virus found in previous cases or local cases in China before, which means the latest infections are not the continuous spreading of the local epidemic in recent months.
Officials say the source of the infection is an Indonesian national who arrived in Beijing from Fujian province on December 10th. They say the 28-year-old man initially tested negative for COVID-19 on December 26th, but the results turned positive 2 days later. As of Tuesday, 16 cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed in the Shuni district, including 14 local transmissions, 1 asymptomatic case, and 1 imported case. More than 1.3 million people have been tested for COVID-19 in the area, with nearly all of the nucleic acid tests returning
and they're
negative.
just running through every stupid story they come up with.
Chinese central authorities are calling for greater efforts to strengthen pandemic prevention and control during the Spring Festival travel rush. The meeting urged a reasonable allocation of transport capacity and asked local authorities to encourage people to avoid non-essential travel. It suggested contactless ticket sales and security check measures should be promoted, while convenient services should be offered to senior citizens who do not have access to smart technologies. The Spring Festival travel rush, or Shuni, will last from late January to early March. It's estimated that 3 billion trips will be made during the holiday period. The World Health Organization has urged countries to ensure that vaccines are made available to people at risk everywhere and not just in rich nations. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus appealed for $4 billion to buy vaccines for distribution to lower and middle income countries through the COVAX vaccine facility.
Vaccines offer great hope to tell the tide of the pandemic, but to protect the world, we must ensure that all people at risk everywhere, not just in countries who can afford vaccines, are immunized. To do this, COVAX needs just over $4 billion urgently to buy vaccines for low and lower middle income countries. This is the challenge we must rise to in the new year.
Well, so far, more than 81 million people have been infected by the novel coronavirus globally, and over 1.7 million
Chinese
people have died.
100 pesos from
Turkey is now testing
Mexico,
samples from the first shipment of COVID-19 vaccines from China's Sinovac. The shipment of 3 million doses is part of a deal for a total of 50 million doses. The Turkish health minister says authorities will begin inoculations after the testing process has been completed. First, Ankara plans doses for health workers and those older than 65, followed by those older than 50 and also suffering at least one chronic illness. Last week, Turkish researchers said interim analysis showed the Chinese vaccine was over 91% effective. Britain's become the first country in the world to approve the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine for emergency use against COVID-19. UK Health Secretary Matt Hancock says the authorization will help to accelerate the vaccine rollout in the country.
This Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is really good news. We have 100 million doses on order. The rollout will start on the 4th of January and will really accelerate into the first few weeks of next year.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson called the approval a triumph for British science. Partial results from studies in almost 24,000 people in Britain, Brazil, and South Africa suggest the shots are safe and almost 70% effective for preventing illness from coronavirus infection. The Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is the second to be approved in the UK, which became the first country in the world to greenlight the easy-to-handle shot as it battles a major surge in COVID-19 cases driven by a new, more transmissible variant of the coronavirus. And with more on the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine in the UK, here's Andrew Wilson at Oxford.
In a word, no one's come up with anything yet to prove that the vaccines aren't going to be effective against this new variant.
That's not a word. That's three contradictions. That's like reverse engineering a sentence, bro. No one's come up with any evidence of our unreleased vaccine that it won't work.
It has, they think, been around since September.
They think, no, they know.
That cases are now turning up, 1 in the United States, 2 in Canada, a couple in Australia. people are starting to assume on the scientific front that this variant has been around a lot longer than people realize. And therefore, it just shows that the data they've managed to collect on it so far is in its infancy. Thus far, the virus...
We think it's from a year and a half ago, so you think our data is in its infancy because we say it's from so far back.
Doesn't seem to have departed from the basic structure.
This guy doesn't know how to form a sentence in English.
Vulnerable to the existing vaccination program.
But some
scientists have said that the virus has moved one step closer to what they call an escape pathway, which is how you describe a virus that has now managed to dodge a vaccination program and start something new that needs rethinking. Now, the flu virus, for example, does that every year. Every year, a different vaccination is created for the flu virus because it mutates.
I still stand by what I said about you, but at least we agree on one thing, brethren.
It's not as lethal, of course, as the coronavirus.
His job is to use words. He's a commentator.
Coronavirus will follow the same pattern. So, to that end, they're keen to start the vaccinations as soon as possible because what allows the virus to mutate is for it to go unchecked.
Still right to criticize him.
Stay within the population, infecting more people, and therefore giving a chance to explore how it behaves within its human hosts. So they're keen to start the vaccination program, which they hope will be effective at the moment, and hope will play a part in eradicating the chance of this virus mutating further and becoming dangerous and resistant to the current vaccination program.
It's basically in stasis all the time.
Of the newly approved
it's like a computer program.
AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine against the new variant of the coronavirus has been circulating in the UK.
How about these?
The British government says it'll put huge swaths of England into strict COVID-19 restrictions to counter that highly infectious variant. Health Secretary Matt Hancock says the National Health Service is under significant pressure and fast action is needed.
There are over 21,000 people in hospital with coronavirus right now. And we can see the impact that this is having. The threat to life from this virus
so
is
little
real,
ones out there, maybe I'm wrong on this, maybe not. But the point is that when I talk about commanding officers, you are the ultimate
tier of restrictions starting today, covering around 44 million people. Told lawmakers on Wednesday that Britain recorded more than 53,000 new cases, saying the majority of which are believed to be of the new variant.
Unfortunately, this new variant is now spreading across most of England, and cases are doubling fast. It is therefore necessary to apply Tier 4 measures to a wider area.
Now, the Midlands, the Northeast, parts of the Northwest.
You realize you're on an island. You should just shut the whole thing down at once. Like, it's not like there's, I don't know how to put this.
Under the Tier 4 restrictions, Hancock says hospitality venues and non-essential shops are closed, and households are not allowed to mix in the affected areas.
Yeah, but they will.
Officials in Colorado are probing the first
that's a common
U.S.
sense
case
rule,
of
but it's
that
ridiculous to try to oppose it at this point.
Circulating
Yes,
in Britain.
Let it go
Officials
this long.
say the first case
Why would
was
they follow
contracted by a National Guardsman serving in a nursing home. He's currently receiving treatment. Colorado Governor Jared Polis says the infected man has mild
Even if
symptoms.
this video thing don't work,
Public health officials are working diligently to identify anyone else who may have been exposed, and the potential cases to test them to see if there's a chain of transmission.
Dumping the bodies in the lake so we don't
Colorado
die.
health officials say a second potential variant case, also involving a National Guardsman, is currently being studied. The man served in the same nursing home as the first guardsman found with the new variant. The U.S. is facing a rise of nationwide cases, with California hard hit by the current spike. The infections currently stand at nearly 19.5 million, with over 337,000 Americans having died from the virus as of December 30th. With the coronavirus still raging across much of the U.S., remote learning has become the norm for many students. However, across the country, teachers are now being prioritized to receive vaccines reopening schools for in-person learning. In California, which is currently experiencing a surging cases, concerns remain about whether it's really safe to return to school. Ira Spitzer has more from the San Francisco Bay Area.
60% is 60 over 100. Many U.S. students have been attending school virtually, more or less, since the spring. But with the Center for Disease Control's recent recommendation that teachers be prioritized to receive a coronavirus vaccine, that could change in the coming months.
But then they'll be shedding live virus all over the students. Again, the students are going out and socializing no way. Oh, we need these grade 1 and 2-year-olds to wear a mask. To normalize you wearing a mask, so they'll think it's normal that when somebody molests them, they won't know who it was.
And I believe that's
How come
why
all the pedophile voices are the ones yelling for teachers' rights?
with the idea that
All the
school would
real
open
teachers are like
before
90 years
fall of
old and they're
2021.
dead from coronavirus.
That's Monica Gandhi,
And they're
a
being
professor
punished
of
by these high
medicine
school
at the
students.
University of California, San Francisco.
They became PSWs.
But not everyone
Because
thinks
they put the
it's quite
posters
as
up all over the
simple
school.
as
Be a
just getting a
PSW, no
vaccine.
experience, no training.
Toby
Guaranteed
Boyd is
job
the
for
head of
life.
the California Teachers Association, which represents more than 300,000 teachers.
What's this?
Overall, I would
17
say
years
that
later.
we feel that because of the virus, because of the likelihood of an
We've gone
outbreak,
through so many
we
old
don't
people
know.
that have died.
But just to mitigate it, we would say keep the
What's
doors
17
shut
plus 18? That's
until it's in a
35.
different
I'm
tier,
37.
and then think about reopening them.
At the moment, most of California is in the worst tier,
So I guess it means I was
with
20 when I was
coronavirus
there,
infections spiraling out of control. California teacher Anthony Agrella agrees with that assessment.
That's my big fear. It's not necessarily me getting it from a student. It's student who might transfer it to another student.
No.
Who then has.
That'll
other
happen
issues
anyway, you retard. They know
because
each other
of
outside the
living
school. It's
situations
you
and
that's
what
spreading
have
it
you.
to
That's
them.
a bigger concern.
It's
Almost
their
everybody
cohort,
agrees,
and
though,
you are the
studies
invading
show
infidel.
that remote learning is a
Person
poor
who kicks in the
substitute
door,
for the
a home
classroom.
invading, child rapist,
School
wife
reopenings
murderer.
have become
That's
a
what infidel
highly
means. It
contentious
doesn't have
issue.
anything to do with
Many
belief.
parents are impatient.
Nowhere in the
but
Quran does it
schools
say,
and
oh, force
teachers
people to
say
believe
they
Islam. No, it
haven't
doesn't.
been given the resources they need to open safely, nor is the virus under control at the moment in California. The stimulus package agreed by Congress includes $54 billion for schools, which is expected to go towards protective gear and other things to encourage
It's
reopening.
expected to, but it's not written into
Even
the
with a
bill
vaccine coming, there's still a
You
ways
believe
to
it,
go
even though
to
there's
get
no
these
reason to
kids
believe it will.
back in the classroom. For the Beijing Hour, this is Ira Spitzer in San Francisco.
Thailand, Southeast Asia's most popular tourist destination, has been struggling with the economic fallout of COVID-19 for over 6 months
Burma,
now.
Beijing,
Adriel
Hong Kong.
Telementis has more.
Oh, did you mean Southeast
Tourism has
Asia,
long been a
which
pillar of
doesn't
Thailand's
include
economy,
China?
accounting for roughly 15% of the nation's GDP. 2019 saw nearly 40 million international visitors arrive in the country, but
you're trying to make it look
2020's
like
lack of
everybody goes
international
there. No,
tourists
this
has impacted many Thai
sex thing,
citizens who relied upon the sector for employment, with those located in popular tourist destinations particularly affected. Ling Se-tan, a native of Betong in southern Thailand, was previously employed as a tour guide for Chinese tourists in Phuket, but saw her business opportunities disappear as a result of the global pandemic's travel restrictions.
I work as a tour guide for Chinese
Oh, you weren't working in a real industry,
for
bitch.
over 2 years. I like working as a tour guide because I could travel and
All
meet
the
many
traveling me and
people.
my mother did.
Many large tours
Never use a travel agent,
from
ever.
China to visit
I have
Thailand.
no idea
And
how to
this
approach a travel
did my
agent.
business very good.
I want to go
My
somewhere.
family
So go,
background
stupid.
is
Yeah,
Chinese
you're
and I
right.
can speak Mandarin. In the past, business very good and I used normally have 40 customers every week. Many people I know in Phuket have lost their job. I moved to Bangkok because I could not work as tour guide anymore.
Thailand's government has struggled to negate the damage done to the country's tourism and hospitality sector, though it has made some progress. The Rao Pai Tiogan subsidy program, Thai for We Go Travel Together, offers a 40% discount on rooms costing up to 3,000 baht, or roughly $100. Meant to boost domestic travel, it requires participants to travel to locations outside their hometowns in order to receive the benefit. Stephen Steele, an expat from the United States who has lived and worked in Bangkok for 6 years, often travels to nearby provinces.
The travel subsidy program seems to be benefiting the larger luxury and international chain type hotels rather than the smaller local guest houses and hostels that are scattered around the country. So, for example, I was recently in Phetchaburi, a small city about 2 hours outside Bangkok, and I spoke with the owners of the guest house that I've stayed at several times over the past couple of years. And this hotel is normally 80 to 90% occupied throughout the year. It's a very popular place to go to. And the owner told me that since the lockdown ended, they have not gone a week where they've had more than 2 customers.
Thailand is anticipating that 2021 will see a gradual resumption of international travel. It will be a test for both citizens and local authorities as they work to effectively contain the virus and salvage any short-term hopes of reviving the tourism industry.
Because you're not in fucking Ontario.
I'm Adriel Talamantis reporting
Guess
for the
what? They can't
The
take
world
it from you.
anxiously awaits
What would they
delivery
do
of
with it?
COVID-19 vaccines. Airplanes will be taking charge
God,
of their
you people are
transportation.
stupid. I fucking
and offers
hate
hope
what
for the
you people
hard-hit
do.
aviation
Early
industry.
boys. Yeah,
Here's
I can't
Pepe
stand
with
you
more.
either. Oh, they're almost the same.
Planes
Like
are landing
raping
at
little
airports
kids in
around the
Pakistan,
world
really? It's
to
almost the
deliver the
same.
much-needed vaccines for
Fucking
COVID-19. Air freight is now the most efficient and safe way to globally deliver the precious cargo.
No, it's not.
This also
It's not
means
precious.
the civil aviation industry has
How's it
finally seen
precious?
some
You're gonna
hope
sell
of
it?
recovery
Then it's not
as
precious.
the pandemic
Oh,
and
you're
resulting
mad,
border
Mr. YouTube
controls
admin.
have
It's
costed
not
the
precious.
contract for almost
You
a year.
can't sell it.
Airlines have
Oh,
removed
stop selling the
seats and
vaccine.
luggage storage to make
The
room
companies
for
are selling
boxes
it.
of vaccines.
The
Air freight terminal
companies
director
are
Philippe
selling the
Auxilier in
Wow,
Paris
Mr.
says
YouTube
they have
admin, you are on
adapted
fucking
their
drugs.
fleet to meet the massive demand.
What are you mad about? Then fuck up.
We have
The companies
essential
sell the
fleet that we
vaccine
can use
to
that
the governments.
includes our cargo planes,
Here's the
as well
problem.
as
The
another
government's paying
99
up front for
long-haul
them.
planes that can be used for transport.
He has one of the all-cargo planes can hold 1 million doses. A
So
recent
can a
white
box
paper on
this
logistics
big.
during the pandemic,
There's 150,
released by
250
DHL
doses in a
and
bottle.
consulting firm McKinsey, anticipates
And the
that a
bottle
total
says
of
fucking
10 billion doses will
Out
be
of your
needed,
10 unit,
and
1
that
cc
requires
thing, it's
15,000
1 unit,
flights
a tenth
around
of a
the world.
cc.
However, existing air freight cold
Unless
chains
he
are
feels
only
like
able
drawing
to
the
meet
whole
the
thing up
demands of
because the doctor
2.5
gets to
billion
choose.
people
150
in
holes in
25
that seal. You
countries.
think it's still
The
sealed?
International Air
As soon as he
Transport
pushes the needle through,
Association
he's pushing
is
dirt
confident
into the
that
bottle
the current
and into the
capacity
syringe.
of the aviation industry
Oh, that's
can
such
meet
a
market
minuscule thing.
demands.
Yeah, tell you you're
Glenn
doing it to
Hughes,
8
global
billion
head of
people, and
cargo
then
at
statistically it's going to
IATA,
affect
says
millions.
companies and countries must be highly coordinated when it comes to the supply chain.
It's
Really?
critical then that
Because
the
the
industry
one
can
end of the country
supplement
is
that lost
saving
capacity
the
with, as it were,
non-cold
mobilized
storage
passenger aircraft
version for
to move
later
this
to
cargo
get the
around
second
the world.
dose. The cold
HSBC
storage one, they get
estimates
it all the
the
way now.
distribution of
Or-
vaccines could help reduce the loss on revenues by
I
up to
said that backwards.
30% for major
The
airlines
one
in
they
the
should be saving for
Asia-Pacific
the second
region.
dose, they're not.
Scientists are also
They're giving
working on
out all
vaccine
the ones that can be
technologies
stored at room
to
temperature
reduce the
now.
future cost of storage and delivery, which will make air freight
cold
more
ones,
cost-efficient.
Where you shouldn't
For
be
the
setting
Beijing
them
Hour,
aside for the
this
second
is
dose.
Fei Fei.
Because what if the
27
cold
past
system
the hour now. At
fails?
least 22 people were
Well, we got to
killed
get
and
more people with
dozens
the first dose
wounded
because we don't have enough
in
for
an
your second.
attack on
Hey,
Aden
you
Airport
give
in
away an ounce
southern
of crack
Yemen
in
on
20s
Wednesday.
to try to start
An official
crackheads?
statement says the explosions
You don't have another
targeted
20 to
local
sell that
officials and
fucking first
employees
crackhead?
gathered to
He's not going to
welcome
be a crackhead
government
tomorrow.
members at the airport. The attack took place
You all want to be
minutes
drug
after the
dealers?
arrival
You
of a
warship
power-sharing government from
corrections
Saudi
officers that
Arabia.
pretend to be drug
Yemeni
dealers.
Prime Minister Ma'in Abdul Malik says the attack underscores the difficulties facing the government to unite two of its allies in the war against the Houthi movement.
This one has some cypher dressing on it.
The hands of terrorism will not stop us from continuing to unite the national front in order to face this terrorism until we emerge victorious in this battle. And we will not accept anything but victory. May the injured heal, and may there be mercy for the martyrs.
There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack. The Saudi-led coalition said it downed an explosive-laden Houthi drone that was targeting the presidential palace. No immediate reaction from the Houthis was reported. They've denied responsibility for the attack, though. 28 minutes past the hour. Beijing is getting sunshine today. The high climbs up to 0, a low of -13 coming up tonight. Chongqing is overcast and 7 below 4. Last is sunny and 10 below -7. Hong Kong's getting clouds and 14 degrees, and then it dips down to 5 overnight. In North America, Washington, D.C. will be getting a slight rain on
Predator
Thursday,
drone's the
7
size of
degrees
it's
Celsius.
bigger than a
New York
fucking
City's getting
Cessna.
some rain in 8. In Africa, Nairobi's getting moderate rainfall in 24. And finally to Oceania,
They're getting targeted by a drone. It would have blown up half the fucking city.
It's time for a short break. So far this hour, China and the European Union have completed negotiations on a bilateral investment agreement. Sinopharm has applied for approval of its COVID vaccine in China. More than
Isn't that delicious looking? No, I swear to God, the Jamaican girls make this for us.
Airport in southern Yemen. Shane Baker with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
There are peas in the rice. I didn't get a lot, but more than one in here. You know what? I can tell. These are the dried
Join
peas.
the most popular Chinese language learning page on Facebook.
No matter where they came from, dried goods.
CRI Learn
Bulk
Chinese.
carriers.
It's a quick yet fun way to achieve your language goals. Start your free lessons now with unlimited videos, photos, and text tutorials on expressions and Chinese culture. CRI Learn Chinese.
You know, what would I know? You people tell me that this sickle cell is a detriment to my survival. You've told me for 35 years I'm suicidal.
Trending in China.
Yeah, because this and that. That means you tried to kill yourself, so therefore I can take away your clothes and touch you, and you can't do nothing. When I fought you.
Inventions, videos, photos, live streaming,
suicide disease.
Join in the conversation.
It's been active at least since I was 16.
China Plus News on Facebook.
At least,
and
possibly
its
earlier.
news, its people, its traditions and culture. China
Now here's
Plus
the deal.
News.
That's around the same
Facebook
age.
page.
Sickle cell
Open your
symptoms.
eyes to the real China.
Change.
Examining
These
the
symptoms
events
are these
that
weird
impact
pains in
and
the
shape
joints and
China
shit.
and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of
My
news and
stepfather always
information
called
brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Oh, his brother is my uncle.
Thursday morning.
Both
Still to
my
come in business.
Used to sit
Several
up with me
Chinese
back at
internet
75
giants
Dow
have
in
been punished
1989,
for irregular
1990.
pricing. In sports, the latest
So what,
results
I'd
in
be 6 or
news
7
from
years
European
old?
football, culture and entertainment, martial arts degrees offered by a university in China. There are a number of ways to contact us. You can talk to us on Twitter at China Plus News, or log on to Facebook, China Plus News, for more news, videos, and analysis. Now today's headlines. China and the European Union have announced the completion of their negotiations over a bilateral investment agreement. The announcement was made during a meeting between President Xi Jinping and European leaders via video link. The Chinese president called the agreement balanced and high standard, expecting it to provide greater market access, a higher level business environment, and stronger institutional guarantees for mutual investment. He says the treaty will greatly boost the global recovery in the post-pandemic era and enhance the confidence in globalization and free trade.
Well, people don't understand.
Chinese
When
central
pandemics
authorities are
end,
calling
there's no,
for greater
all the
efforts
people that
to
saw this
strengthen
happening
pandemic
experienced it to go back
prevention
to life
and
as normal.
control during the
They're
Spring
all
Festival
dead.
travel
It's
rush.
20 years
The
later.
meeting urged a reasonable allocation of transport capacity and asked
The
local
only cargo
authorities to
plane worth
encourage
using
people
is
to
maybe a
avoid
PBY
non-essential
Catalina or
travel.
a
It
C-130
suggested
Hercules.
contactless ticket sales and security check
FL-130?
measures that should be promoted, while convenient services should be offered to senior citizens who do not have access to smart technologies. The Spring Festival travel rush, or Chunyun as it's known locally, will last from late January to early March. It's estimated that 3 billion trips will be made during that 40-day travel period.
That's very similar to what the stuff that comes out of my
Turkey is now
lungs looks
testing
like.
samples
All the
from its
little
first
droplets.
shipment of COVID-19 vaccines from China's Sinovac. The shipment of 3 million doses is part of a deal for a total of 50 million. Turkish health minister says authorities will begin inoculations after the testing process has been completed. First, Ankara plans to dose health workers and those older than 65, followed by those older than 50 and also suffering at
That
least
means
one
against their
chronic
will.
illness.
Did you know that's what the
Last
slang
week,
meant?
Turkish
Shane,
researchers
yes, you
said
did, because
interim
you studied
analysis
English
showed
somewhere
Chinese
other than
vaccine
China.
was over 91% effective. Britain is the
Sergeant
first country in the world
Preston,
to approve the Oxford AstraZeneca
and what was the other
COVID-19
one?
vaccine.
Maybe not
The
Dragnet,
government
but one of
on
the other
Wednesday
talks all
accepted the
about people getting
recommendations of the
drugged back in the
Medicines and
day.
Healthcare Products
1950, they're
Regulatory
telling you to watch
Agency
the drink.
to grant emergency authorization. MHRA Chief Executive Dr. June Rain says no corners were cut in recommending the approval of that vaccine for use.
Our National Institute for Biological Standards and Control has been undertaking the independent laboratory testing so that we can make sure that every single batch meets the same standards of safety and quality.
Yeah, each batch you get could be slightly different. There's a lot number on that bottle,
vaccine, AstraZeneca, was released last night.
Just like me,
following
made in First
yesterday's
Nation territory.
vaccine approval.
The British regulator says one dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is
why you
around
don't bother
70%
with this? See
effective
that
after
glue?
21
Oh, it's
days
glue.
before
Why
the
is it
second
glue?
dose is given. The effectiveness is up to 80% when there's a 3-month interval between the first and second doses. Dr. Wei Shen Lim is with the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization.
The data shared with us, and I'm not sure it's entirely in the public domain,
767.
calculated the vaccine
What do I keep
efficacy
getting?
between
7,
day
7, and 6.
22 of dose 1
Backwards.
to the time of dose 2 being given.
How do you put circles in a
And
rectangle? I don't know.
The figure is around 70%.
UK government's ordered 100 million doses of the Oxford
Surgeon General warns
AstraZeneca
these will
vaccine.
fucking kill you.
It'll start to be administered on Monday,
And I'll
starting
tell you,
with the
in my
most
case, so will
at-risk
sickle
groups.
cell.
The decision comes as the country battles a major winter surge
pissed
in
off white
infections
cock.
driven by a new
highly contagious coronavirus variant. AstraZeneca and other developers have said they're studying the impacts of the new variant, but expect that their shots will be effective against it. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has signed the post-Brexit trade deal with the European
Every time I do
Union.
this, we owe them 2 cents. Fuck you.
I want everybody to understand that the treaty.
Hey, remember dumping $10 billion of cigarettes on the reserves?
It is a new
Somehow they were coming across the reserves, Canada tax free. Remember that? No, remember that?
And our friends and partners in the European
Tell us
Union.
we're
The
evading
trade deal
taxes.
announced a week
We're
ago
producing
sets out
on
the
our
terms
land.
of
You were
Britain's
just
new
dumping.
relationship with the EU.
Huge difference. The
Following
government
that
was right to
divorce
punish you,
deal
but they're not
earlier
right to
this
punish
year,
us. And from what
it
I can
will
tell,
come
the
into
Supreme
effect
Court
tomorrow,
justices agree.
replacing a transitional arrangement during which EU rules continued to apply to Britain.
This is why
At least
light
22
cigarettes
people were
are
killed
actually
and
worse for you
dozens
than regular
wounded in
ones.
an attack on Aden Airport in southern Yemen on Wednesday. An official statement says the explosions targeted local officials and employees gathered to welcome government members at the airport. The attack took place just
where you
minutes
do that.
after
You don't
the
do it in
arrival of a
public
new
where regular
power-sharing
people are.
government from Saudi Arabia. Yemeni Prime Minister Mohammed
Assumption one,
Abdul
this shit's
says
going to
the
happen and
attacks
exist.
underscore
Let's
the
put that out there
difficulties
first.
facing
If
the
it's going to
government
happen,
to
that's where it
unite
happens.
two of its allies in the war against the
Baby,
Houthi
wide
movement.
open the airport is.
The hands of terrorism will not stop us from continuing to unite the national front in order to face this terrorism until we emerge victorious in this battle.
Be careful, because I don't
And
know
we
where
will
this is
not
going.
accept anything but victory. May the injured heal, and may there be mercy for the martyrs.
There's no immediate claim of
May the injured heal,
responsibility.
may
The Saudi-led
there be mercy for the
coalition said it
martyrs.
downed
I
an
like that.
explosive-laden Houthi drone that was targeting the presidential palace. They've denied responsibility for the airport attack. This is Shane Bigham live from the Chinese
There was
capital.
two different
Coming up in
attacks. Did
business,
I
several
see-
Chinese internet
Somebody run it
giants have been
multiple times.
punished for irregular pricing.
I don't know enough. I would love to have like a live video to see, for me to see. Of like some Chinese cafe, of like some Chinese cafe. Keep dumping on the router. I'll just keep repeating it. I'm a hip hopper, a real MC.
37 minutes past the hour now. Turning to business,
You've been
China's
trying to shut
market
us up since
regulators
88.
fined
Get the fuck outta
JD.com, Alibaba's Tmall, and Tencent-backed VIP Shop 500,000
190
yuan each,
187. I
roughly
don't give a fuck since
77,000
about
US dollars
85
for
my
irregular
bread is
pricing. The
Rising
retail
up the
giants have been
bread,
blamed
but it's
for
unleavened.
pricing strategies related to the
These
Double 11
factories,
shopping spree, such as
stink up this
increasing
whole
prices
section.
prior to offering
Going hard for my
discounts,
block
false
and my
promotion,
intersection.
and inducing transactions. China's taking steps to prevent monopolistic behaviors by internet firms. Earlier this month, the State Administration of Market Regulation
United
announced
States never
fines
did.
on Alibaba, China
Neither did Britain or
Literature,
Canada.
and Shenzhen Hive Box for not reporting deals subject to antitrust reviews.
Oh, that's
A
big.
report from the EY consulting
If they tell you all you got to do
says
is
that the
report it,
amount of funds
report
raised
it.
by China's A-share
How much
initial
money
public
we made?
offerings
Go
throughout
fuck yourself.
2020 hit a
GFYS,
10-year
Richard Van
high.
Dyke off KPT.
The number of A-share IPOs
Report
this year increased by 90%.
If they determine you should have
to
done it,
nearly
make
390
them fucking drag you through court or tribunal or whatever.
yuan,
And at the end of
or
it all,
roughly
let
70
somebody get
billion US
fired as
dollars
punishment, and then
raised,
the
and
whole
that's up more
company
than
still keeps
80%
making money.
year-on-year.
You're gonna do it
In
your
terms
way.
of
We'll just
industries, the
not tell
funds
the
raised
Chinese
by
government. Are
companies
you from China?
specializing in key
Stupid.
technologies, including semiconductors, biomedicine, and software,
Canada. I'll lie
account
to
for
the
nearly a
Canadian
third of the
government all day
total
long.
amount. In
Chinese
terms of
government,
individual stocks
there's no
among the
point.
new companies listed this year, Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation ranked first in terms of funds raised,
Semiconductor
with nearly
manufacturing
53 billion yuan, or $8
That's a
billion
very simple
US
name.
dollars in total. With more on this, we're joined by market analyst Cao San. So what do you make of the surge in
grandfather used
IPOs on the
semiconductors
A-share
because he was
market
an
during a
engineer.
year that's been ravaged by
He's
the
not on
COVID-19
trains.
pandemic?
Speedos for trains.
Well, it shows
Or
that
Speedos.
the
He's not
Chinese
that type of
capital market
Dutchman.
is booming,
Zaffro
and
does.
investors
Speedo.
are
Look like
optimistic about the growth prospects of these companies and are willing to pay a fair valuation. And that's why companies want to capitalize on this opportunity to issue their shares and raise the capital.
Many tech firms that listed on the market this year emerged as outstanding performers. So what were the major drivers behind this?
Hey, China. This is China next, right?
Well, the Internet Plus idea is widely lauded, and I think investors are willing to give a very high valuation for tech companies.
You're always looking away. The big freeze it up, buddy. I can see the whole screen the whole time.
In the reliance of technology,
people waste
and
time
also they
harassing
feel
us.
that there are great profit opportunities in its upcoming tech companies.
Well, as a tumultuous year wraps up, we've seen some mixed hopes for the outlook of the stock market in the new year. What can investors expect in 2021?
1,300 years.
I think it remains
appeal the sentence and get 180 on
the market can be quite volatile.
You burned your appeal. You guaranteed 180 now. 2/3, it's still 120.
So what happens in 2021 remains to be seen. But given the fact that
plus, however old you are, you really
very well contained in China, and everything is gradually back to normal,
other than harass
I think 2021 would be a much better year than 2020, and that should be reflected in the stock market.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. That's market analyst South San sharing his insights into the surge in IPOs, Chinese companies over the year 2020.
That's why that shit ain't happening.
44 past the hour. The National Bureau of Statistics has revised China's GDP for 2019 to 6% growth. The number represents a cut of 0.1% from the 0.1 percentage points from the preliminary calculation. The new offshore duty-free stores have opened on the island of Hainan to promote tax-free shopping and tourism. The provincial Department of Commerce said sales at offshore duty-free shops exceeded 31 billion yuan, or roughly $4.8 billion
when they say
so
duties,
far this year.
I'm not sure what the duties are they're talking
The J Hotel in Shanghai has launched a trial operation period. It's the world's tallest hotel. Jinjiang International is operating the ultra-luxury hotel in Shanghai Tower, China's tallest building, located in the Lu Jiazui financial hub. Lu Haiyan is chairman of the Jinjiang Luxury Hotel Management Company. The senior executive says they're trying to distinguish themselves in the luxury hotel sector by offering novel experiences to customers.
When I began in this business, the first thought that occurred to me was that I had to differentiate this hotel from others. We hope it can be a world-class hotel with distinct local cultural characteristics.
Jinjiang International Corporation, which owns 7 luxury hotel brands, is currently the second largest hotel
here. It's already built. Okay, we're going to turn it into a hotel.
Regulations passed in Shanghai call on public service providers to be mindful of seniors as the city embraces digital technology.
Jesus might come looking for a room, and I'm not going to be the one to tell them we don't have
public service providers, including government departments and companies, should promote smart information services that meet the needs of seniors. The regulation will come into effect on March 20th. The move is part of efforts from the megacity for dealing with its aging population. Official figures show that the number of residents aged 60 and above increased by nearly 150,000 over the past over a year. By the end of 2019 to 5.2 million, accounting for 35% of the total registered population in the city. The digital divide facing China's elderly population is raising public concerns as digital technologies have enabled banks, hospitals, and public transport
there is no Abacus app
services
for the phone
online, especially in the post-coronavirus era, to reduce contact.
That light is not visible light. I don't know why
Samsung Vice Chairman Li Jae-yong appeared at Seoul Central District Court for the final hearing of his bribery trial. Li was sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2017 for offering 8.6 billion won, or $7 million in bribes, to former South Korean President Park Geun-hye and one of her longtime confidants, while seeking government support for a 2015 merger. The bribery scandal ignited massive street protests and toppled the presidency of Park, who was formally removed from office in March of 2017 and is serving a decades-long prison term now.
I would have lined up every panhandler and homeless person I could find. I would have been flying them in from everywhere in the U.S. and Canada. Go petition, sign this thing, and stand in line here and wave aside. Okay, don't wave aside. You don't have to understand Chinese.
You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, latest results and news.
7,000 people times $1,000. What can you do for $1,000 in China? You had that much fucking money. You are dumb as hell. I'll give you all this money if you do what I want. Of course you got caught, stupid. No turned you in. The people you tried to bribe, dummy.
The Beijing Hour.
The Beijing Hour.
8 billion. There's something wrong with this, sir.
And the world.
I mean, that's way too much. You got to be a setup.
47 past the hour now. Turning to sports. Here's
report this.
Thank you, Shane. In European football, Atletico Madrid will end 2020 at the top of La Liga after beating Getafe 1-0 at home. Luis Suarez headed a first-half winner to hand Atletico manager Diego Simeone victory in his 500th game in charge of the club. Atletico is 2 points clear with the game in hand over city rival Real Madrid. which played to a 1-0 draw with Algae. In the English Premier League, Liverpool was frustrated by Newcastle after being held to a goalless draw. Newcastle keeper Fabian Schär put on a spectacular performance, denying Liverpool several scoring chances. The Reds still top the Premier League table, 3 points ahead of Manchester United.
If it wasn't for the medical exemption on
the Premier League
welfare
match between Tottenham and Fulham, scheduled for Wednesday, has been postponed due to a COVID-19 outbreak. The league says Fulham launched a request to rearrange the fixture following a significant rise in positive COVID-19 cases within the team, as well as a number of players showing symptoms. The league didn't give a new date for the match. The postponement came after Monday's match between Everton and Manchester City was called off due to COVID-19 cases. Everton coach Carlo Ancelotti called for football to continue in a tough situation.
So dry, and they were hurting. Like they wanted to secrete something, nothing was coming out.
Not all the people wear the mask. Not all the people take social distance. First of all of this, we have to follow this. I'm not in the right position to decide if we have to play or not. I think that the
can you come on with the word equidistant and explain that to the public?
People.
Oh, you know when we push the desks to the outside perimeter, there's still not enough space. Yeah, because you left all the fucking space in the middle.
And due to restrictions applied to some Premier League clubs, including Everton
if I teach the whole class, then I have to teach one student, and then the next student, and then the next student, and then all of them
Cristiano Ronaldo indicated in a recent interview that he has no plans to bring down the curtain on his football career in the near future. Ronaldo will turn 36
when you explain it to the kid individually, they still don't get it to go, okay.
He's currently in a positive place,
probably get a wrong mark on that
mentally.
If you feel motivated,
it doesn't matter. To autocracy.
Cristiano is good. I feel in a great moment, but I don't know tomorrow what's going to happen. I live the present, the moment. The moment is good. I feel happy.
Not only did you fuck it up, you also completely wasted all your time. You didn't teach any of them anything.
In a good moment in my life, I hope to play many years.
I want to see the records as to how many
the five-time Ballon d'Or winner is currently the top goal scorer in Serie A this season, although his Juventus is only 6th on the table. Ronaldo also says his next dream is to win the FIFA World Cup with Portugal at the 2022 finals. The event in Qatar will almost certainly be Ronaldo's last opportunity to lift the historic silverware. In the CBA, Xinjiang extended its winning streak to 6 games after edging past the Sichuan 103-98 on Wednesday. 5 Xinjiang players put double-digit figures on the scoreboard, led by Zhou Qi's 28. Xinjiang led by double digits twice in the second half, but suffered scares in the last quarter with Sichuan's attacking abilities. Marcus George's hand scored 4 straight points to help Sichuan shrink the gap to 3 points with 22 seconds remaining. Xinjiang only survived with Yu Dehao's 2 free throws. Head coach Andy Jiang says the game exposed many problems the team has.
So useful.
It's a tough game. The score was close throughout the match. The opponents changed their defense strategy, making our fans hard to adapt to. Sichuan players were very relaxed.
Oh, that's my fault.
Our players were not clear about how to guard them. We need to improve our performances in both ends through a game like this.
Meanwhile, Guangdong took a late charge and shrugged off the Beikong 127-96, trailing by 5 points in the first quarter. Guangdong started to find the rhythm from the second quarter, putting a 31-20 run and controlling the game from there. Marshall Brooks put the game-high 26 points for Guangdong. Elsewhere, the Zhejiang Lions snapped their 6-game losing streak with a 130-102 victory over Fujian. Shanghai smashed Nanjing 110-83. In the NBA, LeBron James will celebrate his 36th birthday today by playing the game he loves, leading the Los Angeles Lakers against the San Antonio Spurs.
We use it all we want.
Where I come from, anymore. You know, a lot of people don't even make it, past 21. For me to be, rounding the base to 36, playing the game that I love to play, and being with a great team and a great organization, with a great family, it makes it
I have to get at least this much money. Buddy, you're getting paid to play a game.
Very honored.
Don't lose sight of that, because the people paying you.
Remarkable year for him, his 18th season in the league, and just weeks after winning his 4th championship reign. The Hainan provincial team was the biggest winner at this year's China National Surfing Championship, which concluded in Wanning on Wednesday. Team Hainan's Qiu Zhuo and Deng Xueying won the gold medals in the men's and women's shortboards, the official Olympic events. Hainan also bagged 7 more titles, including the longboards competition. Over 400 top surfers took part in the 9-day tournament.
Thank you very much for the sports update. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, martial arts degrees offered by a university.
University?
Want to know what's
I don't claim to be a martial arts expert, but they did put me through karate.
Helps you to discover the real China. From the latest news to quirky Chinese inventions.
All those kids that went through that kick your ass, so don't worry about being an expert in karate.
Join in the conversation today by searching.
The cool part is you might be an expert in karate. We pull off some part-nail gangster move, you'll be like, what the fuck was that? That wasn't within the fucking
China Plus News Facebook page. Open your eyes to the real China. It's 53 past the hour now. Turning to culture and entertainment. Contemporary artworks are on display at an exhibition about the Yungang Grottos. The pieces can be seen at the Powerbomb Museum in Shanghai. Zheng Hong has more.
This is Sou's house empty painting and calligraphy. So wrote a quote from the sutra, "Form is emptiness, emptiness is form" on the paper. He then rewrote it over and over with a brush dipped in clean water until the words disappeared.
Form and emptiness are two important concepts in Zen Buddhism. Form refers to everything we see in the world. Emptiness is the things we can't see. Zen attitudes are usually depicted with painting or calligraphy, but they only represent the idea of form. I wanted to create art to present emptiness. On this seemingly empty paper, form and emptiness are integrated into non-duality.
So are you writing secret-coded messages?
Question number 1 comprises an array of stones. Ren picked up a small one from his garden and replicated it in various sizes. The smallest stone represents the real world, while the larger ones are symbols of an increasingly larger world of language.
我一直在关心一个问题，就是我们到底是怎么在思考和认识
years and years of drinking water have
How do we perceive the world? It's actually the theme of all my artwork. I think we are now immersed in the world of language, which becomes larger as we start to learn and try to describe it. The real world, however, is often neglected as we pay too much attention to rhetoric.
也更为是庞大的呈现在我们的这个生活中。
Installations from 12 artists, all combining a meditative experience with their creativity, are presented at Powerbomb Museum. They are part of the Yungang Grottos exhibition, as the curator believes they explore new ways to illustrate Buddhism in a modern context.
That was Zheng Hong reporting on Buddhism-themed contemporary artworks on display in Shanghai. Chinese cultural luminaries Fu Song and Shirley Young passed away recently. Julian Logan has the story.
The Austrian music channel reports that Fu Song passed away on Monday in Britain. He died of a COVID-19 infection at the age of 86. Born in
Why am I laughing? It's not that I find it funny these people are dying. So don't get it twisted.
Since settling in England in 1958,
it's all you people that, oh, it's like this and it's like that. Oh, what happened to our cultural icons? Well, you killed them.
Separately, Chinese American
we're trying to make all the niggers sick. Niggers didn't get sick, so you got mad.
At the age of 85.
Yeah, original shorty, whatever the fuck she is down
to the U.S. in
flipping out, talking randomly at the air. How could you be a germaphobe? 10, 11 times.
She later founded the Committee of 100 Cultural Institute, along with cellist Yo-Yo Ma and the architect Yong
I can't see it again with the same pedophile thing. Oh, we stare at people's mouths. So do you. Your eyes only go straight with your head.
Reporting on the death of 2 Chinese cultural luminaries. 56 past the hour. Universities from China and the United States have staged a virtual exhibition on fiber art, offering a glimpse into what happens when traditional art incorporates high-tech materials. The online event organized by Tsinghua University and the University of the Arts Philadelphia featured various approaches and different materials to explore themes via fiber art. New materials such as optical fiber, chemical fiber, and memory alloy were used in the works presented. Participating artists combined expanded traditional techniques of weaving, knotting, and coiling with cutting-edge technologies. More than half of the artworks on display explored new technologies, including digital and information technology. Shaolin Temple in Henan Province has signed an agreement with Henan University to offer martial arts courses for bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees for international students. According to the agreement, students from around the world can enroll and major in Kung Fu. Through the cooperation, Kung Fu lovers from more countries can learn and help promote traditional Chinese culture. Last year, the university founded the Wushu College, the only martial arts college established by a comprehensive university in China so far. It's at 58 past the hour now, so checking the forecast before we go. Beijing's getting sunny conditions in 0 for a high. It'll be dipping down to -13 as we go into the new year. Chongqing's overcast in 7, a low of 4. Lhasa sunny in 10, the lows -7. Hong Kong's cloudy in 14, minus down 5. And that's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news this morning, China and the European Union have completed negotiations on a bilateral investment agreement. Sinopharm has applied for approval of its COVID-19 vaccine for use in China. On behalf of the staff, this is Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
我要学汉语 I want to learn Chinese.
其实并不难 ，It can be fun.
欢乐汉语 Chinese Studio.
He said 58 past the hour, right?
Perfect Chinese your way in only 5 minutes a day. Welcome to Chinese Studio. 我是亚杰。
我是 Cam. Yesterday we learned how a waiter or waitress asked us what we want to eat or drink. Now it's time to fill our stomachs.
As you know, there are a variety of wonderful Chinese dishes, and we're going to learn what they are and how to order them over the next few days on Chinese Studio.
I don't care how I ended up with these genetics.
Keywords of the day.
Cheap cuts of meat
Spicy
with
chicken.
easy to raise animals and easy ready access to spices.
Pan-fried
Damn
tomatoes
right.
and eggs. 西红
These
柿
Indians over
炒
here
鸡
eating
蛋
dogs, eh? Yeah, I ain't
Rice.
saying nothing bad. I saying it tastes just like chicken,
Fat.
dog.
Noodles.
Call these hot dogs, chicken
面条
dogs.
All in today's Chinese Studio.
I don't know why I keep this in. Tomatoes ain't growing.
So Kim, what do you like to eat?
Oh yeah, Jim. The question should be, what don't I like to eat? I'll eat anything, especially delicious Chinese food.
Okay,
Well, he's saying
then
that pretty
as a girl
naturally,
from
but the
Sichuan,
Chinese
I
look at that as
strongly
good.
recommend
That's
you to
incredible.
try
That's amazing.
辣子鸡. Very good. It's spicy chicken, one typical dish in Sichuan cuisine. As you know, Sichuan food
Please
is
don't
characterized
disappoint me. I know
by
this is
hot,
weird. It's-
pungent, and salty flavors.
It has a medicinal
So does
medical effect,
辣子
even when it
pepper
doesn't get my
in
head
Chinese?
high.
Yes, 辣子 is the informal name
Prevents
of
viruses
pepper.
from being able to get into
辣
cells
子
somehow.
is a little bit easier to pronounce.
Tested it with
辣子
HIV, cannabinoids, and
And
HIV.
means chicken, right?
Right.
Chicken.
鸡, the first tone. Chicken.
When they
辣子
expose
鸡
red blood
spicy
cells
chicken.
to HIV
Very good.
that have been doused with cannabinoids,
先生，
THC,
您好，您吃点什
they
么？
resist the
一个
virus
重庆辣子
penetrating the
鸡
membrane a lot more
I
than
like to
without
eat
it.
vegetables too, because my mom always told me to eat my vegetables. So what about pan-fried tomatoes and eggs?
Oh, it's also one of my favorites. In
Pan-fried.
Chinese, it's 西红柿
I don't know what they
炒鸡
mean by
蛋.
pan, like
西红柿
pan fried is fried in
炒鸡蛋
pan, right? Why would it
Yes,
just be fried?
西红
My
柿
grandmother,
means
do
tomato.
you like
We learned
hash?
this word before.
Do you like hash? I'm like,
And 鸡蛋
Grandma,
means
what are you
egg.
asking?
鸡蛋
Hash browns, you.
鸡蛋 almost every
Talking
morning.
about,
Good
like,
for you. 炒
it's almost like home
means
fries.
stir
It's cut up
fry or
potatoes and you
pan
put it in
fry.
onions and shit. I don't know what all the
Third
things are,
tone,
like
right?
bacon,
Yes.
fat, and breadcrumbs,
Together
chicken
it's
pieces. I don't know what's
西
in
红
that.
柿炒
I
鸡
got a
蛋.
photo of my grandmother's
西
gravy
红
in the
柿
measuring cup.
炒鸡蛋. Yeah, Jip, I see
I'll
that when
never
someone
taste that
says
again,
he
you know.
or she has been 炒鱿鱼, they seem to be sad. So does this phrase have some special meaning?
Well, literally, it means stir
Why I
fry
wanna eat
squid,
these meals
but
for
it
the
can also
people that-
mean sack someone or fire someone.
Yee, I see. Well, I don't want to be 炒
So no squid oil.
Nobody wants to be 炒鱿鱼.
Oh, you don't like it when I make hot spots in the video, do you? You fucking hate when I do
一个
this.
重庆辣子
Because when whoever's reviewing the work comes through, they can just click on it. They can find those hot spots. Yeah, keep it up.
You please
You're dumping
introduce
on
me
the
to
router
some
so
main
bad
courses
that the radio's
Chinese
cutting
people
in and out.
usually eat. I want to give them
It's
a
not
try.
pausing.
No problem.
It's
How
not
about
pausing. It's
rice
cutting in
for
and out.
noodles?
Buddy, what the fuck's your
Rice
issue?
is 米饭.
We got nothing to do for hours from now.
And 饭, the fourth tone.
米饭
And noodles are 面条.
面条
You started at 58 minutes past it. Wow, bro. Menus go up, menus go down.
面条
Do it, bro.
吃点什么主食？
You hear it cutting in and
我
out.
要一碗米饭。
Just to be clear, that's what my hand
我
is.
要一碗面条。
Are you fucking done? Still
稍
good?
等。
Keywords reminder. Spicy chicken.
Oh, you should have to buy the $35 plug-in.
Pan-fried
Why would I do
tomatoes
that?
and
I can show what I'm
eggs.
talking about with this
西
dollar
红
store.
柿炒鸡蛋 rice
They didn't even pay for a frame.
米饭 noodles 面条
The magnets are on there perfectly straight because it doesn't have to be.
So that's
Now,
just
if I
the
was
start.
Chinese,
Now you'll be
if
able
I was
to order
Chinese,
a few
I would get this as a
Yes, but
tattoo.
we will learn
I
more
would
famous
made in
Chinese
China.
dishes tomorrow.
Fucking right.
So now
I
our
would.
question
I'm
of the day:
not.
how do you say rice
I
and
would have to get
noodles
fabriqué
in
au
Chinese?
Canada.
And we will see you tomorrow.
What if you're Mexican Canadian? You get Hecho a Mexico. Or no, fabriqué. Hecho a Canada. Fabriqué. Whatever. You do. There's a guy playing piano. There's a cat sitting here. There's a dog sitting in the button.
You're listening to China Plus Radio, connecting you with China.
They play that music, the slightly different music behind those, because if you tune in, you're not sure what the fuck you're listening to for like 4 or 5 minutes. Unless you hear the music. Unless you hear the
Now
music.
the news. I'm Shane Bigham. China and the European Union have announced the completion of their negotiations over a bilateral investment agreement. The announcement was made during a meeting between President Xi Jinping and European leaders via video link. The Chinese president called the agreement balanced and high standard, expecting it to provide greater market access, a higher level business environment, and stronger institutional guarantees for mutual investment. He says the treaty will greatly boost the global recovery in the post-pandemic era and enhance the confidence in economic globalization and free trade. The European leaders called the completion of the negotiations a milestone in the development of EU-China relations, calling for closer cooperation between the two sides on issues such as sustainable development and WTO reform. China's market regulators fined JD.com, Alibaba's Tmall, and Tencent-backed VIP Shop 500,000 yuan each, roughly $77,000 US for irregular pricing. The retail giants have been blamed for pricing strategies related to the Double 11 shopping spree, such as increasing prices prior to offering discounts, false promotion, and inducing transactions. China's taking steps to prevent monopolistic behavior by internet firms. Earlier this month, the State Administration of Market Regulation announced fines on Alibaba, China Literature, and Shenzhen Hive Blocks for not reporting deals subject to antitrust reviews. U.S. COVID-19 deaths have surpassed 340,000, with the national case count topping 19.6 million. The country saw the deadliest day since the pandemic began on Tuesday, with over 3,700 deaths associated with the virus reported. An updated forecast is projected close to 570,000 COVID-19 deaths in the U.S. by April 1st.
You've never looked at a Micmac's eyes ever, or Jamaicans, or...
The British government says it'll put huge swaths of England into strict COVID-19 restrictions to counter a highly infectious variant. Health Secretary Matt Hancock says the National Health Service is under significant pressure and fast action is needed.
There are over 21,000 people in hospital with coronavirus right now, and we can see the impact that this is having. The threat to life from this virus
You should be calling it SARS-2 coronavirus. Because right now these assholes go, oh, I don't have a coronavirus, I have a cold.
Population in the top tier of restrictions starting today, covering about 44 million people. Britain is the first country in the world to approve the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. The government on Wednesday accepted the recommendations of the Medicines and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency to grant emergency authorization. The British regulator says 1 dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is around 70% effective after 21 days, and before the second dose is given, the effectiveness was up to 80% when there was a 3-month interval between first and second doses. The UK government's ordered 100 million doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. It'll start to be administered on Monday, starting with the most at-risk groups. Turkey is now testing samples from the first shipment of COVID-19 vaccines from China's Sinovac. The shipment of 3 million doses is part of a deal for a total of 50 million. The Turkish health minister says authorities will begin inoculations after the testing process is completed. First,
I can't figure out. Normally, everybody copies the Americans.
65. Followed by
who are you people copying now? The Chinese didn't use no vaccine. The Russians used Sputnik V. None of you wanted a piece of that.
Said interim analysis showed the Chinese vaccine was over 91% effective.
Yeah, those numbers are going to vary.
Boris Johnson has signed the post-Brexit trade deal with the European Union. The trade deal announced a week ago sets up the terms for Britain's new relationship with the EU following their divorce earlier this year. It'll come into effect tomorrow, replacing a transitional arrangement during which EU rules continue to apply in Britain.
Oh, they have in the past.
The last full moon of the year cast a glow over Greece on Wednesday, lighting up its festive towns and shores. NASA says the full moon began to appear on Tuesday in some countries and will continue to appear full until Thursday in others. This full moon is known as the cold moon.
No, it's not.
It's also been referred to as the long night moon by the Native American Mohican tribe, as it's closest to the winter solstice and will shine above the horizon for longer than most full moons.
Yes, but you said the Mohicans all got killed off 200 years ago, you fucking retard. He's got the American English, American GI English. Oh.
How can you experience real life in China without making that trip to the fabulous Middle Kingdom? How do you get to meet people living in China without actually coming face to face with them? Welcome to Chinese Theory, a program that seeks to immerse you deeply.
One thing about being sick all day and smoke that many cigarettes. Well, if I go from smoking 10 a day to 40 a day, it's an issue.
Spalding.
I've smoked 150 in 2
little
days.
spells. Did you?
It's 3 1/4 packs, I guess. I took pictures. Here's the bag after a day and a half. It was empty. What is this? Oh, you know what we're gonna check out? South China Sea. Just have to. I'm gonna put music back on. Why? It's kind of skinny. Remember, that's about a fifth or less than a fifth of the gram. Why? Because that gives you a bit more for the second joint. I love this shit. I could listen to this shit all day. Just rock and mood all day. I love this shit. Let's try Chin FM.
मुझको अपना समझने लगो मैं बहारों की महफिल सजा तुम मगर साथ देने का वादा करो मैं यूं ही मस्त नगमे लुटाता रहूं.
That looks like a weed hair. Hold on. Look at seagull. That little speck. Blows up my leg, irritating it all to hell for no reason. Spells how it sounds.
बहुत ही क्लोज फैमिली फ्रेंड्स को डेडिकेट किया और 9:09 हो चुके हैं. इस वक्त मेरे साथ जुड़ चुके हैं सेंचुरी 21 एंड टीम देवल के ब्रोकर जनाब परमजीत देवल साहब. देवल साहब, सत श्री अकाल, बहुत बहुत स्वागत है सर.
Now in Canada, whatever language you speak, if you're looking for professionals in that language, there probably are some. Unless you're the only one in Canada, and you could be the first one. You want to be a Punjabi real estate agent for Century 21? There you go. You want to run a hotel and specialize in people from this place or that place? You can do that.
ਇਹ ਸਪ੍ਰਿੰਗਡੇਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਵਾ ਅਤੇ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਲੋਕੇਸ਼ਨ
RDP Internacional. Portugal aqui tão perto.
Portugal. Is that a door or a window? A porta is a door. A porthole is a window. Porque con mask. Put on your mask. Wear your mask. Meta. Portuguese? Hold on. Out of curiosity, I gotta hit up serve. Hold on. Serve US. It says serve PM jingle. Est-ce que ça c'est le policier militaire? Militaire? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that sounds like Portuguese too. I could be wrong. Totally wrong. It's not the usual thing served does. Okay, where were we? This is a different song. Wait, which chin was it? That's chin A. I'm
location ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਵਾ ਇਹਦੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਸ ਬੜੀ ਲੋ ਰੱਖੀ ਗਈ ਆ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਬ੍ਰਾਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਈਸਟ ਸਾਈਡ ਤੇ ਹਾਈਵੇ 50 ਦੇ ਨੇੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦਾ ਵਾ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ 4169937378 ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਵੀਰ ਭੈਣ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ 2021 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਖਰੀਦਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਅਗਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸੁਨਹਿਰੀ ਮੌਕਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੌਰਗੇਜ ਰੇਟ ਬੜੇ ਹਾਈ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਬਾਏ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਸਲਾਹ ਮਸ਼ਵਰਾ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਹਰ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲ ਦਾ ਹੱਲ ਕੱਢ ਕੇ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਵੇਗਾ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ 4169937378 ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਸੈਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਘਰ ਕਾਂਡੋ ਅਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਟਾਊਨ ਹਾਊਸ ਜਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੀ ਕੰਸਟਰਕਸ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਜਾਂ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਸੈਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਟੌਪ ਡਾਲਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਵੈਲਿਊਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਵਰਚੁਅਲ ਟੂਰ ਹੋਵੇਗਾ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਸਟੇਜਿੰਗ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਪੈਕੇਜ ਬੜਾ ਫਲੈਕਸੀਬਲ ਹੋਵੇਗਾ ਅਤੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਗਾਰੰਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸੋਲਡ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇਗੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਚਾਹੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਏਰੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਵੇ ਬ੍ਰਾਂਪਟਨ ਮਿਸੀਸਾਗਾ ਵਾਟਰਲੂ ਕਿਚਨਰ ਕੈਂਬਰਿਜ ਬੋਸਟਨ ਅਗਰ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਟਲ ਮੋਟਲ ਗੈਸ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਾਂ ਫਾਰਮ ਹਾਊਸ ਸੈਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਕਿਸਮ ਦਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਸੈਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਾਬਤਾ ਕਾਇਮ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਟੀਮ ਦੇ ਵੱਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਗਰੰਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੋਲਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇਗਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਥੋੜੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ 4169937378 ਅਤੇ ਲਾਸਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਰੋਤਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ 2020 ਆਲਮੋਸਟ ਨੇੜੇ ਆ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ 2021 ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਪਰਸੋਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੜ ਜਾਣਾ ਵਾ ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਵੀਰ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਰੋਤਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ 2020 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਤਹਿ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦਾ ਅਤੇ ਹੋਪਫੁਲੀ ਆਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਵਾਂ ਕਿ 2021 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹਿਣਗੇ ਅਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਦੇਣਗੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਰੋਤਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਫੇਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ
The next building joined to us. Nobody even knows what that address is. It's 730 St. Clarence.
Tune into Realtor Cafe by real estate expert Kimberly Finney. Every Monday, 8 p.m. on Chin Radio FM 100.7, sponsored by Royal LePage Real Estate Services.
Well, at least I know what isn't on.
Serving proudly for over 30 years in real estate. For buying or selling your real estate, call 905-618-0707. 905-618-0707.
Canada is a place you can come to and retire or settle down without necessarily having to learn everything about Canada and change your languages right off the bat.
Up here, District Tower 3, Johanni Wallahan, Jane and Rutherford Gilbert. This is a 30-story tower. You are walking distance to absolutely everything. Steps from One Mills Mall. 6 minutes to VMC subway station. You are near major highways 400 and 47 or 10 minute की दूरी है York University. यहाँ पे pricing शुरू होने वाली है from low
$401 through 406.
Extended deposit structure and lots of platinum incentives.
What happens to these other highways? They don't exist. You're lying to me.
647.
I know how to count. Language I have a problem with.
647-993-4844. Attention realtors.
The 407 came after the 400 and the 410. They had the 427. How? I don't know.
They'll lead you
427 might have been the 20. I don't know how this happened.
Training. You can have 24/7
some of these 2-digit numbers became 3 digits, like 1, not many. And then a bunch had a 4. I think there's a 300 series somewhere.
Ethnic Realtors, you can speak your own language. For more info, call 905
Ethnic Realtors, you can speak your own language. Because there's guys out there that can hear the accent going, oh, those are my people.
Everest Realty Brokerage, where the magic begins. सिर्फ सरपा पर बिना किसी दबाव के एक ही कीमत पर कार खरीदें सरपा क्राइसलर पर द ड्राइव होम सेफ इवेंट जिसमें 25% तक छूट एमएसआरपी 2020 के रैम 1500 क्लासिक और 2020 की ग्रैंड कैरावान पर 20% छूट 2021 के रैम 1500 क्लासिक पर 10% छूट 2020 की जीप Cherokee पर 7% छूट 2021 की Cherokee पर रियल डील के घर आए सरपा टैक्सी पर हर घर चुपचाप ये कहता है कि अंदर इसमें कौन
If I thought shielding myself from disease was going to help my immune system, I would.
किसका ये जहां है
कमरों में किसकी कल्पना
चलती है इस फर्श पर नंगे पैर किसके बच्चे चलते हैं
The guy that threw blood in my face is still alive. It's been 11 months. He's an old motherfucker.
घर बसाता है
Yeah, if he had HIV, he probably wouldn't still be. He looks physically relatively healthy.
कौन रहता है
Like if I was to detach and think for a second, like maybe me and him were friends, or at least neutral.
6'7", 865.
I don't see nothing about him that would like terrify me, like, oh, I can get a disease from him.
7339.
Hepatitis. If he got infected recently with hepatitis C, I could be fucked.
100.7 Chin FM.
So I've never seen him drinking with those other idiots, but I can tell he's a crackhead slash meth.
Flows, abundance, good health, happiness, and lots of fun with
my weed dealer's weed dealer was weed dealer knows him from George Street.
और एक जबरदस्त शो जो है हम करते हैं आपकी खिदमत में लेकर आते हैं और उम्मीद करते हैं कि आपको पसंद आता है। 9:30 बजे ऊपर खबरों का टाइम होता है और उसके बाद में लेकर आते हैं बढ़िया सी स्टोरी। आज भी एक बढ़िया सी स्टोरी आपको लेकर आएंगे, लेकिन इस वक्त इस शो को आगे बढ़ाते हैं और let's play the trivia, right? I'm going to give away some more prizes, some gifts, because this is holiday season at its best on Keith Mahler Radio with Paris. और हाखा खजाना चाइनीज रेस्टोरेंट उनकी तरफ से स्पॉन्सर किया गया है ये तोहफा नए साल के लिए। तो I've got 3 more giveaway prizes. I'll make it 4.
Before 1980, he was
even,
drinking.
right? So
that was the only drug available.
अगला ट्रैक जो मैं प्ले करूंगा आपको जो सिंगर का नाम, मूवी का नाम और एक्टर्स के नाम
go sit out there. Put on all the warmest clothes you want. Get the best sleeping bag you want. And go sit out there. And don't go inside.
Calls will come. So
just don't.
Number to call is 416-870-1000.
Anytime you want something, don't go to your house. You gotta go buy it from the store where it costs the most. I want 1 can of pop, not a case. I want 1 hot coffee, not a whole pound.
7. आपको मूवी का नाम बताना है।
When you go into the restaurant to use the washroom, you buy something first, then bring your coffee to the washroom, use the washroom, then try doing that.
जीत जाएंगे आज का दूसरा trivia prize, and you'll be the second superstar.
The pain you'll feel is incredible.
Big shout out. Because
when
our
you get
first
cold enough,
superstar
you realize you're about to die.
Navneet from Etobicoke.
Get this elation. That's what happens in your
the
head.
next
Your brain's
superstar
like, oh, fuck, I don't know what's going on. Pull the switch.
Keith Mahler Radio Energy with Boris. 3, 2,
what that is
1. Here we
go.
go.
Read Plague Dogs. They're drowning the dog, Ralph, over and over. Every time he lasts 5 minutes longer. They drown this dog till it gives up. Then they revive him. Every time they do this, he lasts 5 minutes longer. It's a horrible thing to do. That's animal fucking experimentation. Now remember, more people die of heat exposure than cold. You get shot in a snowstorm. Oh, fuck, that gets you back on track, don't it? More people die. You're going to get mad over and over and over. No, we're thumping him. We're touch the asshole. So, more people die. I don't know why you hate this statistic. I'm going to keep repeating it until you stop. I'll just restart the machine, record it on a new video. Right, dumbass. Where do you go then? Back to your cell. They feeding you through a tube? No? No? You must like being there. Safe for you fucking groups, eh?
All right, over here.
What do they do with pedophiles? What do they do with What do they? Hello, Mr. YouTube admin. Can you take me off this weird 4-second delay that I can see? I shouldn't see it. What do they do with pedophiles in the U.S. Army? Don't they send them to Guantanamo? Where do they send them? They got to do somewhere.
Call me right now. The lines are open.
You don't hear about
the next superstar caller
rampaging U.S. sex offenders, do you? It's not that common.
007.
They're dealing with sexual assault and sexual harassment in the Army. Same here in Canada.
All right, we got the next superstar caller.
Are you mad?
Let's see who is.
You're obviously mad because you keep shitting on the router. Every time, I'm just pacing it to when you have to wait for your new IP address.
I'm good.
Right about,
no.
Right about now.
No. Awesome. What's your name?
No.
Santosh.
Santosh, kahan se
more people.
Santosh from Etobicoke. So Etobicoke.
Bro, we can see what you're doing.
There's a second.
More people.
Maybe the winner from Etobicoke. Because first one was Navneet from Etobicoke.
More
so let's see.
deaths occur from heat exposure.
Movie name is Yalgar.
Movie name is Yalgar. That is correcto.
Elements.
The singer name was Udit Narayan.
Singer name is
Udit Narayan.
Okay, that is correct.
That's what you're trying to shut up.
From Etobicoke is on.
Oh, but I like complaining about the colds. I'm a pedophile that's been hiding forever by pretending to be homeless. I know. We kill you, not shots.
Out there in the east side of Mississauga, but
I live in
actually Toronto, which is a great place to be living in. Well, congratulations to both of them. But we have
I'm going to keep repeating myself till you stop doing that.
Okay. Movie name is Yalgar. Singer is Udit Narayan. What's the next one? Actors.
I believe the actor.
And that was when I was on the grassy street,
Dutt.
sleeping on a park bench. There were several of them there. I don't know how many.
Manisha Koirala.
The grassy and Dundas right next to the bridge. What was graffitied on there? Nothing lasts forever.
What do you think, Jonah? Should I give him the prize?
You know what? 100% you got to give it to him because he's got so much right. Doesn't matter.
All right.
You got to give him the prize.
All right.
What does he win?
So he wins a nice package from Hakka Khazana restaurant.
Okay. And what does that include? It allows us to enjoy it too.
Absolutely.